Let's get going, guys, in the main event this past Saturday night or Sunday morning, depending on where you were in the world. At UFC 304, Belal Muhammad defeated Leon Edwards to claim the undisputed UFC welterweight title. Impressive performance by the challenger. That's how you go for it. Let's react to that event. Danny, lead off, man.
Surprised. I mean, I thought that Leon Edwards was going to win this pretty comfortably. I even thought he might be able to finish Belal Muhammad, but here he is proving us wrong once again, becoming UFC welterweight champion. And man, I just got to give it up to him. The guy has just been persistent, nonstop throughout his career. He hasn't had an easy road. And now he finds himself at the top of one of the most difficult weight classes in this company and in this entire sport. So huge props to Belal Muhammad. He really shut everyone up. And man, I mean, I think he can go on and do something great here. He looked spectacular against Leon Edwards.
He sure did, man. Nolan King, how about you? Isn't that how you do it, right? If you are going to go to a decision, right? No finish, go to the judges, you snatch it from the guy and leave no doubt.
Yeah, I mean, he went for it. I thought from the opening bell, even like his level of aggression, his pace was surprising to me. I thought midway through the second, I was like, man, he's just really going at Leon. He's really pressuring him. And I was interested to see if he was able to keep that going through all 5 rounds, and he was. I mean, with the exception of the one strong round that Leon had, and then the ending, which swayed some people's 5th round scorecards to go with the damage that Leon gave out at the end. Belal was just pushing the pace. He was on him. He was beating him up with his striking. His takedowns were great. I mean, him just tossing Leon essentially on his head with that spike was incredible. Ooh. So good for Belal Muhammad. You got to be happy for the guy. He's endured a lot of kind of nonsense, and he's kind of gone with the flow in a very difficult period of time where he was inactive. Didn't seem like the UFC was really interested in having him be the next option. And eventually they went with him, and he made the most of it. He's the champ. He has handled himself like a champion even before he had this title. And now that he has it, again, given division new life, and we'll see who's next for him.
We were doing the watch along. Remember, I clearly remember round 3, Leon taking the back, winning the round. It's 2-1 going into round 4, the championship rounds. What's going to happen, right? This is where their mettle is tested. And then what does Belal Muhammad do? He charges right back at him, dude. He wasn't scared. He wasn't tentative at all, man. I still got goosebumps thinking about this. And I'm sorry. I know a lot of you're going to follow what Dana White says or whatever. Yeah, it wasn't a barn burner, man, but it was a compelling fight. And it was very, very tactical. Guys, what were your thoughts?
For me, it was a weird night. Like, honestly, it can't be any weirder for them, right? They're fighting at a ridiculous time. But when we got to the day, to Saturday, I thought, how much time have we talked about Belal Muhammad being the guy that deserves to be here? He's got to have this fight. He's got to have it. But when it came to fight day, I thought, I don't know if this is going to be really a great fight. For as much as we asked for it, it's probably going to be more of a tactical fight, right? I was never really expecting a barn burner fight. And I thought it played out that way. I thought it was a tactical fight. I thought it was a good fight. But one thing that you can't dismiss is, listen, Belal Muhammad, he used that time to his advantage. He improved as a mixed martial artist. He did some incredible things in that fight, things that we weren't expecting, and definitely things that Leon Edwards wasn't expecting. That spike on the head, I'm glad you guys brought that up. We're going to have to redo the tail of the tape because that dude is like a couple inches shorter the way his head impacted his spine. Like, you think of like what Fedor went through, or I don't know. That one was pretty brutal, but overall, I wasn't disappointed with the fight. I thought it was pretty interesting. I just thought it was tactical. You're going to get some of those.
For sure. Yeah. Just thinking about the fact that the UFC's got a great record when it comes to an unblemished record. No deaths, no paralysis, but it's going to be something like that. That's going to, if ever we're going to get a statistic. And thankfully, Leon came right back and kept fighting. Danny, how surprised were you as the fight was unfolding? And let me ask you a question. You may think it's corny or whatever, but when did you think this is a wrap? Did you have to wait till the end, or was there a point during the week or even at the beginning of the fight or somewhere where you're like, man, this guy's really got the special sauce tonight?
I mean, not really. I think the whole time I thought that Belal Muhammad, was going to perform admirably, but I thought that Leon Edwards at some point was going to turn things around, right? I did expect him to maybe lose the first, second round because he is generally a slow starter, and Belal Muhammad, we knew that he had to make the most off this opportunity. He's not the most well liked or by at least by the fan base, and certainly not the most well liked by the promotion as well. So we knew that this was his shot. He had to make the most of it. So as the fight started, I more or less expected that. I did think he looked a bit more dominant than I expected. But yeah, then you see Leon Edwards win the third round clearly, and I go, okay, now we go here in the championship rounds. Now things are going to get interesting, and that never changed. Belal Muhammad just kept going forward, just kept doing his thing, and his boxing, that's what really impressed me the most. I knew that there was a path to victory there for wrestling, but there was no way in hell he could have stand with Leon Edwards, and that wasn't the case. I mean, he did get the better of him on the feet. And at that point, like in the fourth round, once you start seeing some of the body language of Leon Edwards, you go, man, like this is his spirit's down here, and Belal's spirit is way up there. And there was a clear shift. And I guess I was just kind of waiting for that moment to happen for Leon Edwards. We see his corner give the "come on, boy, come on, my son, Leon," this and that, and you think, okay, maybe the head kick's coming, right? Like it's just, and this is the way it's supposed to happen. But that moment just never came. So yeah, at no point did I think it was a wrap, but throughout the fight, it was kind of eye-opening. And then once you see the decision, you're like, oh shit, like Belal's really good, man. This guy's the world's best.
He told Goz and I earlier in the week he smelled fear in that elevator. Then we see the video and we're like, well, I don't think Leon looked like he was smelling fear at that moment. But Belal was staring down the whole team. His homie was laying on him, like little Chris in Back to Boys in the Hood. You know, but you know, it was something about that first round when Leon was standing and he was staring into space, and his corner was just like, you know, you got to do this, you got to do that. But he looked like he was out of it at the end of the first round because Belal had taken it to him. He took him down. He stood with him. And even though Leon got back up, he took him back down. And I could tell right there, I go, man, this guy's going to be a world champion tonight. 14 months, Nolan King. Can you believe that? 14 months this guy came in and like I said, rose to the occasion at the right time. At 5:30 a.m. local time. So he was the visiting game, although some are saying that might have benefited him, the time change, right? He's got options. What do you do next for Belal Muhammad, Nolan King, in that stacked welterweight division?
Yeah, I think Shavkat's the fight. I think that's the one that's the most intriguing. I think when you look at the division, you say, who could be the best welterweight on earth that doesn't have a belt? I think Shavkat has the biggest stakes of that right now. You know, I don't know what the timeline will be if it lines up well for the UFC and what they're planning. I know Belal's got a big cut on his nose, but to me, I mean, you throw that fight in Abu Dhabi in October or something, and granted that's kind of a short turnaround, but even next year, I mean, put it somewhere that the fan base can gravitate towards it. But I think that's a great fight. I think Shavkat has looked pretty invincible thus far, and it's just really intriguing. So Belal wants to. I know he's a guy that always embraces the toughest challenges, and I think that is Shavkat Rakhmonov right now.
You know, Nolan, as you said that, I glanced at the calendar. It's still 3 months away, and maybe I go on too many of these corny YouTube channels or websites, and I thought I saw something where Makhachev might be nursing an injury, might not be ready. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if they actually made this matchup. Do you like that one goes? Or a lot of people have been saying, what about Kamaru Usman? Let's bring the former champion back since Leon Edwards is out of the way.
Now, I have nothing against that fight. That's something that I kind of found interesting as well. But I think you have to kind of look at how the UFC has been treating Belal Muhammad, and I feel like they're just going to throw the kitchen sink at this dude. And if you're going to do that, like Nolan said, Shavkat's that guy. You want to throw him at him. So I think that's probably where they'll end up. I wouldn't be shocked, though, if they did Kamaru Usman. That's not a bad one.
I wouldn't be shocked if the UFC said, Belal, you got Pajeda next. Danny Segura, how about you, man? Break the tie or whatever. Maybe throw out another name because, again, it's stacked, right? Ian Gary's undefeated. He's controversial as well. What do you do here? And then start the conversation off for Edwards, too. Give me a little bit of both guys.
I think Nolan is on the money in this one. I think it's got to be Shavkat. For starters, if we're going to go with the UFC's rankings, he is the highest ranked sort of opponent available, right? Sitting at number 3. You can make the case for Usman. He's still at number 1 somehow, even though he's on a 3-fight losing streak and hasn't won in quite some time. I would hate to see Kamaru Usman get a shot. I think, look, give him one more fight. If he can get past somebody, then okay, give him a shot. He's done so much that he doesn't have to make the line. But at this point in time, the most deserving guy is Shavkat. And I mean, who doesn't want to see Shavkat fight? I think that'd be a fantastic fight. And as you mentioned, I think it's a great idea to put him in October when the UFC returns to Abu Dhabi. Look, Muhammad is 36 years old, right? Like his time at the top is limited. He's not a champion with 24 and has 10 years in the sport. No, he's got to make stuff happen. So I think he's got to be as active as possible. I like that October date. For Leon Edwards, man, this one to me, this loss like made him look pretty bad. Like he just looked defeated out there. His bread and butter is the striking, and a guy that historically is a wrestler outstruck him. I think he's got to take a step back. I don't know, maybe a fight against Jack Della Maddalena would be a lot of fun. A fight with Ian Gary, that would be a lot of fun. Remember, these two, someone got beef. They used to train together. And Ian Gary got kicked out of his gym as he was rising up the ranks. Obviously, that kind of got buried because it was some time ago, but you can definitely sort of bring back that rivalry or that story and make a little bit of a grudge match out of it. And it makes sense from a divisional standpoint. So I would suggest Ian Gary for Leon Edwards. Why not?
It got buried because he gets kicked out of a lot of gyms in addition. But go ahead, Goes.
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say, I think a lot of times after a big loss like this, we kind of say the same thing, right? Like he needs to take some time. And in this particular instant, I don't think he's got to take some time because he's banged up. I think he needs to take some time to really figure out, go through that footage and look and see what actually happened to him. Because George, I know exactly what you're talking about. That look on his face at the end of round one, he was not expecting that. And he did. It seems like, you know, obviously in the Kamaru Usman, he figured it out, but he figured it out in the 5th round. And that's just not a position you want to be in every fight. I think it was Danny or Nolan, one of you guys said, he just traditionally starts slow. And that's something that I've always found in mixed martial arts. It's just not acceptable. The fight's not that long. You have to cherish every second of that fight. You have to take it serious. And that's something that kind of continuously happens with Leon Edwards. You got to go back. You got to watch that footage and you got to figure out how to get better. That's what Belal Muhammad did in that time off. He got better.
Yeah. And look, I don't want to glaze all over Belal, but I'm telling you, man, now that I go back, I can see him. He was really, really confident. This dude, what about even the flinch? Like you could just see he was comfortable. Like he was prepared, confident, comfortable. He didn't flinch. He was laughing at him. He was right up in his face. And again, he was the visiting side getting booed mercilessly. So you're disliked by the fans. You can already tell you're not the promotion's favorite guy either. But somehow homeboy rose to the occasion. I can't give him enough of a fist bump. Congrats to Belal Muhammad.